Let me tell you one thing this movie made me not want to read. Rotten Tomatoes. Hello and welcome to my review of The Word, starring Bradley Cooper, Jeremy Irons, and Zoe Saldana. The Words is essentially a story within a story, and that initially centers on Dennis Quaid as a popular author reading from his new book, The Words, that centers on a struggling author named Rory Jansen, played by Bradley Cooper. On a honeymoon with his new wife in Paris, he finds this manuscript that is absolutely brilliant. Now, Rory's books that he's tried to write on his own haven't really connected with the publishers, so he wants to feel greatness in his fingertips, as the movie says. So he types up this manuscript, and after seeing the reaction of the people around him, he decides to pass the book off as his own and becomes this widely popular and praised author. However, the man who originally wrote the book, played by Jeremy Irons, is not too happy about this and goes after him to make sure that he feels the weight of this choice for the rest of his life. Now, this is a film I was looking forward to because of the buzz out of Sundance and because I really like Bradley Cooper, but after reading the dismal 17% on Rotten Tomatoes, I was expecting a schmaltzy, talky, predictable film that I would come back and absolutely slam. However, I'm happy to report that this movie isn't that at all. I actually really enjoyed the themes, ensemble cast, and direction of this film, and think it's a rather good film that's going to be criminally underrated this year. I think this cast all did an incredible job, especially Bradley Cooper in the lead. You just really feel this guy's pain, and he just comes across as so genuine in every movie, and that really comes across here. He's a guy who just wants to be great, but can't quite get it in his hands, and I think everybody can identify with that feeling, and Cooper really plays that up, and he does a really good job of making this guy likable, but at the same time making you angry at him, and he strikes a perfect balance. Also, there's a couple actors in this movie who I don't normally care for, Dennis Quaid and Zoe Saldana, who turn in pretty good performances here, especially Zoe Saldana, who actually plays a likable and down-to-earth character for once. And also Olivia Wilde's in it briefly as in a supporting role, and she's good eye candy. But the real great supporting performance in this movie is Jeremy Irons as the old man. He really conveys a lot of emotion here, and he just does an excellent job just being this guy who's just got so much anger, and he's been through so much in his life. And as he tells Bradley Cooper his story, you start to realize not only why this manuscript he found was so brilliant, but why he's so angry that Bradley Cooper robbed the story from him, and it comes across great, and Jeremy Irons is fantastic in this role. I really love how this movie deals with the themes of art imitating life and how people write fiction just to make themselves feel better to a certain extent. I really like how you go through these characters, Dennis Quaid, Bradley Cooper, and Jeremy Irons, and you start to see that these three guys are really very similar in their own way. They just have dealt with it differently. And to see that contrast, that similarity between those three characters is really, really fascinating. I really thought the movie was well directed and well compositioned by its two filmmakers, Brian Klugman and Lee Strudenthal, who wrote this film as well as Tron Legacy. Major upgrade there. But they made a few interesting choices behind the camera, and the most interesting is that as you go down these different levels of fiction, and I know it sounds just like Inception when you say that, there's three. There's the Dennis Quaid one, there's the Bradley Cooper one, and then there's Jeremy Irons' story, which revolves around Ben Barnes as a younger version of himself. The filter gets slightly more dreamlike with each one. It starts to feel almost like they're turning the clarity down in your head because each one just feels a little bit more out of focus and a little bit more fantasy. And I love how they contrasted the three looks of the three places. Especially when you get back to Dennis Quaid and you see the focus is just extremely clear. And there's actually a beautiful shot within the Dennis Quaid one that really is Rear Window-esque that I'll save for the movie for you to see. I have one major problem with this film, in that it definitely feels, although they did a good job directing it, that there are two visions going on here instead of one unified one. It's great to have two directors if they're both on the same page, but these two guys didn't really feel like they were. Especially in the fact that in these different levels of fiction. I felt like Dennis Quaid's portion of it, while it was well acted and well done once it was there, it was a little unnecessary to have. I felt like you could have just developed this whole story around the Bradley Cooper, Jeremy Irons portion and made that the full film and gotten everything you would have needed to get across with the movie in that one thing. This Dennis Quaid thing just, I think, was put in to add some extra time. And also, the Dennis Quaid thing also distracts from the Bradley Cooper story because there are these moments where Bradley Cooper's really conveying a lot of emotion and you're getting all the things that you need to from his performance, but then Dennis Quaid comes in and narrates and tells you exactly what Bradley Cooper's feeling, and it takes away from the moment. Like, literally, this is how it works. He really felt sad. Everything he wanted wasn't there. But overall, I really enjoyed The Words. I thought it was a nice contemplative film in a time after just a ton of dumb summer fare. And I feel like critics are really missing the point with this film when they call it schmaltzy, because to a certain extent, that's what literature is. It's making real life a little bit more schmaltzy. And this movie didn't overdo it to where it became distracting to me. It actually had a really nice little ambiguous ending that I really enjoyed that wrapped the whole thing up really well. I thought it was a nice little enjoyable movie, and I give it 3 stars out of 4. And that was my review of The Words. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe to my channel, and until next time, I'm Movie Kid Mike.